Hey, how are you all doing today? Very excited to be here with David Baer from Baer on Marketing. And David specializes in working with coaches doing digital marketing, but he does a lot of video. So David's kind of, he can talk about video. He can also talk about digital marketing, just kind of anything. He's really a broad reach here. But David, maybe I'll just let you introduce yourself and tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
I love how Albert just introduced me. David specializes in being awesome. Thank you. I'm actually starting, and I think both of you guys know this, I'm starting a 30-day challenge this coming month in April to awesomize my life, my business, and awesomize the world. So I'm really excited about that. Anyway, yes, and Brighton is amazingly awesome too. Thank you, Albert. So let me quickly talk about what I do. I've been in marketing my entire career in lots of different industries. I did traditional offline marketing, and probably sometime in the mid to late 90s, I started doing stuff online. I started email marketing in the theater industry, and I started working in the wine industry and did a lot of online marketing there as well. And over the past, 6-7 years, I've started getting a lot of solo entrepreneurs, a lot of whom are coaches, a lot of whom are trainers and other sort of consultative professionals coming to me saying, hey, David, I see the stuff you're doing. Could that work in my business? And I started doing a lot more work with professional coaches, particularly on how to build the online assets around their business.
Yeah, great. And I focus on coaches too. And so we've kind of had this conversation before, yeah. But, I guess one of the things I really like about coaches is, I chose that audience because they are more positive crowd, and usually typically not as much afraid of video, maybe still a little nervous, but compared to the general population. So great. Well, thank you for that background. And, maybe let's just start with, you do a lot of different types of video. And I know your setup is pretty simple just because last week you posted a video about what your setup looks like.
Yep.
So maybe we can just start there in terms of, tell us a little bit about what goes into your video from a, technology standpoint.
The short answer is
technology, which includes like that black flag behind you.
Right. The answer though is really very little, and that's because I don't want it to be a barrier for me to actually get out there. So the very first videos I ever shot were on this. And, I didn't do the selfie stick thing for a long time. I just would, hold this thing out there and I would talk into it and I would upload them to something, or I would, send them over to my computer and upload them to a social marketing site or social media site, or someplace else. And I've gotten a little more sophisticated. For a while, I had a white sheet, a bed sheet that I hung behind me. Now I've upgraded to some felt material that I purchased at a craft store. I'm using a really sophisticated high-tech camera that conveniently came packaged together with my laptop. So I didn't have to buy anything extra. I just bought the laptop and there it was. And then I have my fancy schmancy $60 microphone that I bought off of Amazon from a company called Blue. And they make a whole range of microphones. This one is called the Snowball. Their sort of next level up is called the Yeti. I think.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
And that just plugs right into my computer, and that's what you're listening to me on. And then I got this so that I can hear you and not have the feedback or an echo when people are watching us. That's pretty much it.
Cool. There's one more thing in the room that you haven't mentioned, and that's just your lights, which are just simple clamp lights. I know.
I'll refocus that. Okay, so yes. I'm in my basement, and you can see it right there, right? That is just something I picked up at Lowe's or the Home Depot or something. And you can see a picture that my daughter drew me to. So there you go.
Perfect. Well, it looks good, and I think that's one of the important things about being on video is, looking professional, and the black background. What you've got is such a simple setup to create a really professional looking video. It's very crisp. You're lit really well. So it looks very professional, and it is just your basement. So That's pretty cool. So let's see here. Why don't we move into a little bit of the types of video that you use? Because I know you've got a Facebook group. and you post video there. So, maybe you can talk a little bit about your Facebook group, who's in it, what's in it, invite people to join if they want to, and how you're using video there.
Okay, so I use video in lots of different places. I'm not comfortable doing this, by the way. If I were on a one of the platforms where I wasn't having a discussion with somebody else, I would be kind of freaking out because I don't like just talking to myself. And so I use video very effectively when I'm either narrating activity that I'm doing, like I'm doing a tutorial, a screencast. I'm showing the stuff that I'm doing on a screen, and I'm explaining it, and maybe I'm commenting on or sharing my opinion on something. That's very comfortable for me to do. I'm very comfortable having a conversation with you. And so a format like Blab or Google Hangouts, or some other webinar format where there's interaction with an audience, particularly co-presenters where I can have a conversation with them. That's a very comfortable environment for me. What you don't see me doing is any of the live streaming one-to-many kind of things. So a platform like Facebook Live, I saw you do Facebook Live, and I created a Facebook Live video, and I thought, I'm really not enjoying this. This is probably my first and last time I'm doing this. And
I think that might have been my last time too, that I did Facebook Live that you saw.
And so Facebook Live, for people who don't know, is very similar to Periscope or Meerkat or Meevee or any of these other platforms where you're the only one who is on video. And at Periscope now you can actually have somebody else join the video, is my understanding. But
yeah, for a short time, right? For like a real quick.
It's very possible. I haven't explored it all that much. And the way that you create that video is you're teaching, you're talking, you're commenting, you're sharing your opinion, whatever it is that you're broadcasting, and the interaction comes in the comments only. So people are really, sharing something via text, and you have to multitask. You have to, sit there, and it's a mobile thing. So you have to sit there with your phone, talk to the camera, read the stuff, react to it. I just don't like that. And so I use video in those different ways in terms of communicating with an audience. And then I use video in my products as well. So courses that I've created, in group coaching stuff that I do. So, or I don't do coaching, but in group consulting or training stuff that I do, I will use video either as a primer for a discussion, or I will do my training on Google Hangouts, and I'll record it and I'll store that in a membership site, and people are paying me for both the experience on the video as well as access to the archives of stuff. So those are just a few different ways that I'm using video. I'm sure I've left a few out.
Yeah, well, that's great. I think I completely agree with the idea of two-way communication. I tried Periscope, and I had the exact same experience that you had, that it feels really weird, excuse me, to be just talking and not having at least one other person that's part of the conversation that you can see and react to.
Yeah.
But interestingly, I just noticed something, is that even though you're in my peripheral field of vision here, I do, when I speak, I look at the camera, and I think you're doing the exact same thing. And that's something I'm actually going to look down at you now, so people can kind of see that, if I'm looking directly at David, it doesn't look quite right. But just knowing that there's another person there, and you get that little bit of a, audio feedback of, you just, did a little, that's great compared to just the comments. I love the comments that they're built into Blab, because it makes it very easy for a large number of people to participate. And you can type in /Q if you have a question, or just, pop those things in there. We're both looking down at those comments and watching them. So we love, to hear from you guys. But it makes it much easier as a presenter to have that one other person there. So I'm not sure. I mean, it's why I feel like Blab is a big thing, and why I got on Blab not too long after Albert, actually, who's here, told me about Blab. I remember one day Albert said, "Oh my God, have you tried Blab?" And I'm like, "No, I haven't." He's like, "Oh my God, I stayed up all night on Blab because it was so exciting." And then it took me a couple of weeks, and I was like, "Oh, I'm pretty excited about this one too. This is pretty cool." So thank you, Albert, for that introduction.
Albert is a Blab pro. I by the way, I've been around here. I just clicked on our names because one of the things you can do here is see how long somebody's been around. I've been on Blab for 218 days. I can't believe it. I've been sort of lurking in the background most of that time, but that's I've been hanging around here for a while now. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, so I guess it took me 20 days, or 23 days from the point when Albert actually told me about Blab to actually making it over here. So, Albert and I are relatively new, and let's see where Dave is in this. 200 days. Okay, so he's been around more like your time period. Yep. Yeah, it's cool. I like that little feature that you can check and see how long someone's been around. But
that won't mean anything in 2 years, but
yeah, exactly.
It's kind of cool now.
But right, for the early adopters, it's great. So, yeah, and if anyone's on here that's kind of new to Blab, I'd love to know if someone's relatively new to Blab, because I do want people to join these to experience Blab, but also to get the content, because it's something a lot of people don't even know exists just yet. So Albert has asked a question now, and that is, where has the use of video taken your business? So maybe you can talk about that.
Have you played with this, where we can actually put the question right there?
That.
Yeah, there you
so
go.
That would have shown up over there, and I could pin.
Yeah. Okay. So when you see the answer question, you can actually bring that right up there. And did you see my video that I put in our group about embedding other stuff here? That's kind of cool too.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I'm trying to figure out what to embed. That's been my problem. I'm like, okay, well, this live video format, it's so easy to just talk, but.
And we're still in beta, so it actually doesn't show up in the replays, which is the one downside. So they're still working that out.
Okay. Good to know.
So do you want to take that first, because video is taking your business a lot further than it's taken me, perhaps?
Yeah, well, I will take that, because my story is I have been doing online video for 20 some years, mostly as a hobby. And about 2 years ago, I started doing it a little more seriously. I went part-time in my day job and started working, helping people with video, teaching people how to do video, building courses about how to do video, doing evaluations of people's YouTube channels. I'm really, I'd say a good chunk of my business is YouTube focused, just because that's kind of where my expertise has started. I've been on YouTube since the beginning, and, learned a lot from some of the top experts on how to use YouTube. But as of January 1 of this year, I am now full-time doing this. So I do things like video production. Yesterday, I was down in Corvallis, Oregon, shooting some videos for a nonprofit. But really, what I like to do is work with coaches and teach them how to do this, either just through their webcam or through their iPhone, selfie stick type of thing. Sure. Just try to get a good quality video without, a lot of expense or difficulty. So it's really, that's pretty much what my business is based on. So without video, my business wouldn't exist. But your business is, there's a lot of, you're using video more as a tool in your business to get out the ideas that you have.
Yeah. I mean, I take video like, coming on a conversation like this today, or posting something to YouTube. That's content that I'm putting out there to draw attention to what I'm doing, to bring people into my world, and to get them onto my email list, to bring them into my Facebook group, or whatever else I'm trying to use as an introduction, a lead capture, a relationship development process. And a certain number of those people are going to stick and say, hey, David has the kind of stuff I'm looking for. And they're going to graduate to spending money with me, investing in their business through, something that I have to offer them. And that's really how I use video, is really sort of the public video that I have, an entree into what I do. The private video, I actually do a ton of stuff on YouTube. All of my private videos, my courses and things, I used to use Wistia. Now I moved everything over to Vimeo, and I put all of my private stuff on Vimeo. You can put the stuff privately on or you can put it unlisted or private on YouTube, and there's still access to it that I don't like. So I can limit the access, and I can do some analytical stuff on Vimeo that I can't do through YouTube. However, I also do use YouTube I know you want to jump in here, but I'll just keep talking until you.
Oh no, actually, I want to before you go to YouTube, I did want to ask you why you switched from Wistia to Vimeo. Because I agree. Like YouTube does not have the ability to kind of lock down your videos.
Yeah.
But Wistia and Vimeo are very similar that way. Mm-hmm. So what made you choose?
Wistia was a little more expensive and had bells and whistles that I didn't. Having people locked out from a video unless they signed in. That's kind of cool, but I can protect the video in other ways. The IP address analytical data, really, really cool, and maybe I would use it, but I do so much other analytical stuff that I'm not paying attention to already. That I thought, well, let me just use some third-party tools and put this on Vimeo. And Vimeo has proven to be a very helpful and easier to use platform for me than Wistia.
Good to know. So I interrupted you. So you were going to talk about YouTube, and I'm open for other.
So I'm, because I'm all over the place, because I haven't focused in one area aside from Facebook, which is Facebook ads is sort of my area of expertise, but I haven't focused in one area with video. My YouTube channel's fine. It's not great. I don't use it as strategically as I ought to. What I do use YouTube for is SEO. And I use it to rank stuff. I use it to get on either myself or my clients higher up in search results. And there's a lot, because Google owns YouTube. There's a lot of strategy on the back end there that I take advantage of. And so that's really where I'm using YouTube. So while you'll see a bunch of my stuff publicly on my YouTube channel, the majority of my YouTube stuff that I'm doing is you won't ever know it's me, because I have other channels that are not associated with my name or my brand that I'm using to drive traffic back to myself and to my clients.
Can you dive a little deeper in that? Because I'm interested to hear like a little bit more about how that works. How does SEO through YouTube? Just a little bit deeper.
Okay, so when somebody goes to a search engine, we're typing in, a question that is likely a solution to a problem, or or directions to a place, or the best, best Chinese restaurant in Portland, Oregon. I know what the best Chinese restaurant is in Portland, Oregon, because I was going to say, well, I ranked it, but and I did, but. But it actually doesn't exist, as you and I both know. So there is no such thing as good Chinese food here.
Yeah, that's true.
But the fact is that people are looking for answers to questions about stuff, and because Google is going to return on their front page a combination of types of results. They're gonna return, if it's a local question, a map with some of the top ranking answers to where a business might be. They're going to return ads that are bidding on those keywords that are included in that search that somebody's doing, and they're going to return organic results. And the organic results are the things that Google's algorithms sort of believe are the most likely answers based on lots of activity around those things. So a blog post, I did a blog post a few years ago about, I was looking for a chest refrigerator for my basement, a chest freezer for my basement. And I went up and I did a search on Google, and I found site after site after site of blog results where they were, 5 best chest freezers, or 10 best chest freezers, or chest freezers versus stand-up freezers. They were all these, right? And when I clicked on any one of them, they were, quote unquote, authoritative answers to my question based on what Google thought I was looking for. And they were put there very strategically by the people who created those sites, with some help from ranking those returns. The way that they rank those returns is they demonstrate, in Google's eyes, popularity of their blog posts. And one of the ways to do that is to take a video and link it back to that blog post, or take a video and syndicate that video over a whole bunch of websites, blogger sites, WordPress sites, Tumblr sites, have that link to that video go all over a bunch of Twitter accounts, and that video links back to that blog post, and suddenly there's a lot of activity around that blog post. So that's without giving away trade secrets on how to do that and how to do it efficiently, because you could do it manually and it would take a long time. That's sort of the general gist of how you use video to rank things.
Interesting, because that's not something I had thought about. Is I'm so video focused. I look at YouTube SEO a little bit differently about really trying to rank the video itself. So you're not necessarily trying to rank the video, you're using the video as a tool to rank something else.
Yes, and videos are also rankable. And for certain things, if I'm not in the business of ranking local businesses, but there are a lot of people who are. That example of best Chinese restaurant thing, right? So you can go and we're talking about coaches right now, and that's not something that most people don't search. Best life coach in my neighborhood, right? So it's not as applicable to that. But and people don't typically search for coaching in general. But they do search for a local business. They search for a 24-hour plumber, emergency plumber. And so if you know what these keywords are, that's a really easy thing to rank for, because either there's nobody, there's nobody except marketers like you and me who have decided to get into the business of ranking videos and then going out and charging a local business for the service that you're providing. Those videos will show up in Google. And if I think I did this a few months ago. I actually looked for best 24-hour plumber, Portland, Oregon, and I saw the same video for every neighborhood in Portland and it was slightly tweaked a little bit with the phone number for whatever and so there was one marketer out there who had created a video channel called something like Best 24-Hour Plumber, Portland, Oregon, and it was just filled with that same video. Those things you can rank. And I haven't quite figured out an approach to do that for a consultative professional, a coach, a service provider. That's not something that people are, maybe an accountant or something, but it's not the type of thing that people are necessarily going to be looking for. But if it's a question that you address in your coaching practice that people will be looking for, create a video around that. Do a little bit of research on the types of questions people might ask, create a video, and you can work on ranking that video to show up, and people are more likely to click on that image at the among the first few search results than they are just a bunch of words.
Definitely. Yeah. And that's kind of what I advocate for is whatever problem you solve for your coaching clients, solve that for a lot of people over the internet, and kind of same like you mentioned in the beginning, you're giving away a lot of free content and whatnot to the world, and some of those people are going to become your clients. And that's kind of, it's a wonderful time that we live in this time of content marketing, because there's so much free content out there. It's almost distractingly, too much, but you can get a lot of free stuff. And the idea is that, from the person who's giving away the free stuff, they are essentially giving you a sample of what's their personality, what's their teaching style, what is their service, how does it work, and whatnot, with the intention that some people are going to, buy into this at a,
I do want to say something about that, because very often people ask me this question about giving away free stuff, right? I don't want to, people to know what I just gave away a whole bunch of strategy on how to rank stuff, right? I just explained a whole bunch of that. Now, I've paid for courses and paid to be part of membership sites where I've learned that stuff. But frankly, knowing that that's the strategy, I can go onto YouTube and I can find a bunch of videos that explain that to me for free. So why would anybody give away this information? Right? It's good question, because a lot of coaches, a lot of trainers are like, why would I give away the stuff that people are going to pay me? Because you're giving away a snippet of it. There's follow-up questions. There's a lot more detail, a lot more depth, and ultimately people are paying you for the full experience, right? You could have your entire course chopped up in a bunch of different videos. And actually I do. I have some Udemy courses that are also sitting there on YouTube or free and accessible on Vimeo that people can find if they want. But the idea there is that I don't care about them buying that course. I care about them learning about me and coming into my world, developing a relationship with me, and then investing in their business and themselves with me at a higher level. So it's a great way to sort of attract people, get them to connect and recognize that, yeah, we are a good fit. And they could find all of this information.
Yep.
All the protected information that I have, anywhere on the web. Do they want to do that? Do they want to invest the time in looking for it? Or do they want to invest the time on working on the strategy that's going to address their particular needs in their life or their business with somebody who knows how to guide them? And that's what I'm ultimately selling. I'm not selling the information. I'm selling the experience of working with me. Same thing that you're doing.
Yep, exactly. And you're selling the results. I mean, and that's really, like I'm in the same boat. I've got, almost all my videos online are all the content that's in my courses. But if someone wants it, they can go online and find it for free. If someone wants it in a more organized fashion, that's, a lot more efficient for them to learn if they want to learn by watching the videos. And I've got some PDFs and things that, exercises that are thrown in there. So they get a little bit of extra value by buying into the courses. But if they want to go straight through to, someone teaching them one-on-one, they're going to see those free videos online. They're going to say, well, I think I want this guy to teach me. Or they might just want me to do it, which is also acceptable. So, but it provides them with a step ladder of options, from free up to, hourly consultant. Well, you do have a Facebook group, which we haven't really talked about, which I like your Facebook group. And so maybe you could, tell us about your Facebook group, how people can hop into your Facebook group and what goes on there.
I'm curious what's going to happen when I do that. And it's not going to show up in the broadcast. Oh, okay. Yeah. Actually, I don't have an image there, but that is very strange. That's not me. So I'm going to get rid of that.
I have noticed that on Blab, like weird things show up. Like you go to one Blab and you get a different one.
So my Facebook group is built around a project that I'm doing. It's called The Power of Reach, and you can find it at thepowerofreach.com. I put that into the chat over here. It's built specifically for coaches, consultative professionals, mentors who are looking to use the internet to broaden their reach, serve a larger audience than they might be serving locally, or even doing distance work. I have a lot of clients who start out saying, "Oh yeah, well I talk to my clients on the phone, or I we have Skype meetings, but we don't have a digital product. We don't have membership sites. I don't do group coaching. I don't have an email list." And lots of other things that may be missing from their business in terms of their ability to reach and serve a wider audience and create additional passive income for themselves, et cetera. So that group is really all about the range of strategies, components that somebody who is in this world of helping and teaching others might consider adding to their business. There's a bunch of stuff in there that's applicable to members, and there's a bunch of stuff in there that maybe one or two members will go, "Oh yeah, I really need to do that," and it doesn't apply to other people. And so it's an opportunity for. I thought it would be a great opportunity for us to get a whole bunch of professionals together to share the resources. And there's obviously strategy behind it for me. One of the things I teach my clients is how to build a group around yourself, your business, and you're the focal point, you're the center of that. Suddenly, everybody's looking to you as the leader of that community to provide answers, provide guidance, even though you may simply be moderating it all. It helps leverage yourself, your authority in that community. And so that's really the idea behind this. And I'm very, as you can tell from what I just told you, very transparent about it, because it's a strategy that I think more coaches ought to incorporate into their practice.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I hadn't really thought about coaches using Facebook groups. Mm-hmm. I've been trying to figure out how to get a group into my business. And also trying to brainstorm on a good name. That's part of it. Is I'm hung up on a name for my Facebook group. Can you change names of Facebook groups?
You can change names of Facebook groups. Yes.
Okay, good. I still haven't gotten myself a URL on YouTube because I'm like, I'm not sure if that's the name. Because I think on YouTube, once you lock that URL, it's yours.
And I saw something recently that said that you can no longer, you'll know this better than I can, but it's harder to get a custom URL on YouTube now.
Yeah, it is harder. Yeah, there's a lot more hoops. It used to be everyone could get one. And now you are supposed to have 500 subscribers, or this or that or that. But there are ways around it in terms of going through enough hoops. If you jump through enough hoops, Google will let you have your own URL. But I'm not, URLs are great, but everyone searches and doesn't necessarily type in URLs.
Yep.
So, but I like the idea of coaches having Facebook groups because they've got a community, and usually they're coaching to a niche. So it's not coaching to just everyone, but coaching to this small group of people who all have something in common and probably are okay, connecting with one another. And maybe the difference between coaches and more medical type of counselors who their clients don't necessarily know each other. Sure. Coaches probably are coaching people who are fine. Like executive coaches are probably, working with a whole bunch of executives who would love to interact with one another and, be able to grow together as a group. Yep. So I think Facebook groups is one of the coolest thing. It's kind of the killer part of Facebook. Otherwise, Facebook, it's cool, it's fun, but from a business standpoint, groups are really great. And you do video there. So let's, bring it back around to that, because that, I've seen your videos. Sometimes you're talking to the screen and sometimes you're doing screencasts. So maybe you can also touch on how you do those screencasts, what you're using there.
Sure. So, there's lots of different ways to do that. One way, a free way to do it and fairly easy is to just use Google Hangout. And you can, jump onto either through YouTube or Google Hangouts directly. You can jump onto your computer. You can start talking to the camera and then start sharing your screen, and record the whole thing. A Hangout on air, by the way, not a traditional Hangout, which you cannot record.
Yep.
So that's one way to do it. There are a whole bunch of tools that you can purchase. There's the first one that I ever used, and I think I still have a subscription to it, is something called Screencast-O-Matic. I think it's screencast-O-matic.com. There might be some dashes in there or something. And I think you buy like a 1 or 2 year license, and it's like $15 a year or something like that. So super cheap. On the Mac, there's something called ScreenFlow, which a bunch of people use. I use the Mac version of something called Camtasia, which is a lot cheaper for Mac than it is for PC, and I'm thankful for that. And so that's what I typically use is Camtasia to do both my regular video stuff that I just record of talking head stuff, as well as screen capture. And very often so whenever somebody sees like my picture down in the corner and I'm narrating something, that's typically Camtasia that I'm using.
Yeah, and that's great. I'm glad also that you are putting your head down in the corner, because it is kind of like, it is about personalities. It's about people. It's about knowing who they are. And I look at blogs or even podcasts, like you don't necessarily know who wrote the content or who's giving you the content. But when you at least see a picture of someone, you feel like, oh, this is the person behind the content. Sure. It's not, just random person.
And I don't always do that. Today, right before this conversation, I uploaded my weekly training in that group. And I was like, I'm in a sweatshirt and t-shirt. And I thought, and I didn't have my lights on yet, and I'm really tired. I got these bags under my eyes. I showed up for you, but I didn't want to show up for the group. So I was like, I'm not gonna do this with my image there. But those are people who already know me.
Yep, exactly. And it's fun. Yeah, you can do it. And I think screencasting is also a great way for people to get started in video. If they are afraid of the camera, they can at least get their voice and what they're presenting on screen. I just think, having your face there gives you a big boost up in terms of your authority. So,
and, the thing about screencasting, it could be anything. So you could actually, one other way that I do this is not using any of that software, but I'm using my slide presentation software. So I use Keynote. A lot of people use PowerPoint.
Yep.
I actually now build stuff online on Google Slides as well. But if you're in PowerPoint or Keynote, you can record right from there. And you can just narrate the slides that you have, and that's another way to. It's not a screencast per se, but it's another variation on that theme.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's great. I didn't know that until a few weeks ago that you could build those directly inside Keynote. So great options out there. Like I said, we are living in a great time.
Sure.
So I usually like to go around 40 minutes on these interviews. So. I do want to start to wrap it up, and I want to give anyone who's on here, actually, this might be a good question that because you know more about Blab. You've been here longer than me. Is I see that little +2 up above. Mm-hmm. So it looks like we've got 5 people who are watching us right now. But the +2, what does that mean? Is that people who are watching that don't have a Blab account, or
that may be it? There may be additional people who are here who didn't sign in via Twitter. It also maybe that I think that's what it is, because the number 8 is also over there. That's the total number of people who have come in to, but may have left the conversation.
Yeah. So
if you look at it, there's 3 pictures up at the top +2, and then you'll see to the left of that there's 8 people who have been here, 5 people who are watching right now.
Yep. Okay. Cool. Great. Well, thank you guys all for coming here. So I know Albert was here earlier, but I think Albert said he had to hop off. And thank you, David. But maybe you could just give us a quick plug for your business and how we can find you.
Sure.
And then we'll stop the recording.
Yeah, absolutely. So I think the best place to connect with me is the link that I put there, thepowerofreach.com, where you can come in, see the type of stuff that I'm doing and other members of my community, including Brighton, are involved in, and participate in the conversation. I am also available at baeronmarketing.com, which I should probably share with you here, which you can get an overview of the various things that I do in my business to support my clients, coaches, consultative professionals, and other folks who are looking to expand their reach online. So thank you so much, Brighton, for inviting me on here today. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you, David, for joining us today. We will be back next Wednesday, same time, same place. Owen Hemseth is going to be my guest, and Owen is from Video Spot Marketing. He is another YouTube expert that actually does a lot of video creation. He's down in San Diego. Met him in LA a number of times, and so he's going to be joining me here in the guest seat, talking about just YouTube and video and how to, look great on video, the stuff he's done with his clients over the years. So I'm looking forward to that. And thank you guys all for joining, and we will see you next week.